Yo, what if you did like a top 10 favorite album of all time video? Oh, what's that? Like music people like to make those videos to like share to their audience what kind of albums they like personally. It can help with showing the audience what kind of person you are and stuff. That sounds stupid. I just like try it, man. I'm curious too. All right. Top 10? Yeah, top 10. All right, there. Uh, this is just the 9 Radiohead album. Yeah, what about it? Dude, you can't. Okay, well that's still 9. Like, where's the 10th one? Probably this one. Dude, like, hello everyone, my name is CK73. Top 10 albums. It's a new channel, figured this is a nice way to start things off, so here it is. Rules are simple, one entry per artist because otherwise the intro would, like, unironically be accurate. And I don't like stalling, let's jump right into it. I hate how this is gonna be the first album I'm ever gonna talk about on this channel, but I'd be lying if I didn't say I just can't get enough of the Black Parade. My Chemical Romance needs no introduction really, it's the emo punk rock band, even though Gerard Way keeps denying the fact that their music is emo. Like, look at you, Jared, what are you doing? The Black Parade is a concept album released by the band in 2006 exploring themes of youth, death, and everything in between, mostly death. I especially like that it's a full rock opera album, because I don't really see much of those these days anymore, which is a shame. I just really like how the record is edgy in a fun way, it's really loud and obnoxious, and pretty much every single track contributes to like the central narrative the record tries to weave. There are bangers all over the album, like Teenager, Sleep, I Don't Love You, the iconic Welcome to the Black Parade, and my personal favorite, Mama. If you're hesitating getting into My Chemical Romance because of all the theater kid stereotypes and whatnot, it's 2024, I'm pretty sure you're finally allowed to like this thing, right? So maybe take this as a sign to try out the Black Parade. It's just fun punk rock with a gripping narrative. Doesn't get much better than that. Moving on. Doolittle by the Pixies is probably one of, if not my favorite alternative rock records of all time, partially because it influenced so many 90s alt-rock acts like Radiohead, Nirvana, Alice in Chains, and PJ Harvey. It's really like the blueprint album, but mostly because of how fun and reckless of an experience it is. Like, sure, it's a significant and influential album, but more than anything, it's just a really fun one. Even despite my initial aversion to Black Francis's eccentric vocal gimmicks, often accompanied by other bandmates, I just kept gravitating towards this album because of its fun performances, wacky lyrics, and its catchy hooks, especially the choruses on the track Here Comes Your Man, the intimate, whispery I Love Yous on the track La La Love You, or Black Francis just absolutely fucking losing it at the end of Monkey Gone to Heaven. I feel like if you're a big 90s alt-rock slash grunge fan, Doolittle is an album you already should have tried, if not you need to, as it'll give you a good understanding of where the ideas of the genres came from. And listen, it might not be for everyone, I totally get that, but I can promise you one thing, you might hate it, but you won't be bored. Okay, listen, I know this doesn't help with the theater kid accusations, but I can't help it. Despite how many albums I pick up from the Rate Your Music elitist chart, this is still one of my favorite concept albums of all time. For those unfamiliar, Miracle Musical was an anonymous side project by Joe Hawley and his bandmates from their more well-known act Tally Hall. Hawaii Part 2 is Miracle Musical's only full-length release to date, and it's a rabbit hole and a half. The album follows a story of a protagonist who comes to Hawaii, he meets a new girlfriend and slowly loses his mind as his girlfriend mysteriously dies in a forest and he's charged with the murder, and we don't know for sure whether or not he killed her or not, but regardless he pleads insanity and the judge sentences him to electroconvulsive therapy, and he actually goes insane and he tries to escape like Prison, and yeah, if you couldn't tell, it's a pretty autistic album. But that's why I like it so much. And more than anything, I don't think I've ever seen many albums cover this many genres while keeping the experience somewhat cohesive. Because this thing has piano ballads, baroque pop, electro pop, lobotomy core, and a fucking Japanese pop song out of nowhere, even though it was made solely by white people. It doesn't make any sense, nothing makes sense, and that's why I love it. Please show this album some love, I think it deserves it. Dummy was one of the few instances where I jumped into an album knowing absolutely nothing about the artist nor the genre, and still ended up loving it anyway. Portishead is one of the most influential pioneers of the trip-hop genre along with Massive Attack, but they approached the sound from a very different angle from Massive Attack. First things first, Beth Gibbons is a fantastic vocalist. Her vocal performances are their own delicacy separate from the production, and she even released a solo album in 2024 that's been getting a lot of love. And while I still would have really enjoyed a Beth Gibbons singer-songwriter album, what makes Dummy so good is certainly the production. Trip-hop is quite an accurate label for the genre in my opinion, because this album has both the trippy sound, the psychedelic music, and goes hard as fuck like a hip-hop beat. My favorite off the record would easily be Strangers. I hate how despite it not being a rap song, it genuinely has one of the hardest beats in all of music. Not that it's been wasted or anything, obviously, because it's a perfect song in its own rights. This is an album I'd recommend if you want to get high and confused. Jeff Buckley is my favorite singer of all time. When looking solely at the vocal skills and abilities, aside from, let's say, like, songwriting, legacy, whatever, I really struggle finding a male singing voice as beautiful, well-controlled, and versatile as Jeff Buckley's. Due to his untimely demise, Grace is unfortunately his only full-length studio album, but luckily he didn't hold back on this thing at all. Like, this guy's got everything, it's fucking unfair. The title track alone is enough of an argument for why this guy's the greatest vocalist of all time. Especially the shouting at the bridge and the final chorus, like, oh my god, those are pure eargasm. And then there's this lofty falsetto on more delicate tracks like Corpus Christi Carol and Hallelujah. Like, I would do unspeakable vile things just to get 10% of his vocal control and techniques. But vocals aside, the lyrics are deep and poetic in their own rights. Probably because some of the songs are covers from older songs. And I like how it's an alt-rock singer-songwriter album, since I find many other singer-songwriter albums slightly less attractive because they're usually doing their own acoustic shitfuckery. Not that there's anything wrong with that, like, the album is just so much more accessible for me as a rock lover. And Jeff Buckley's like hot too, the world isn't like, it's not fair.
I'm not saying I'm gay, but like,
The picks are becoming more and more normie from here, but sometimes the most popular and obvious answer is the correct one. The Dark Side of the Moon is easily the greatest rock album of all time, and the strongest contender for the greatest album of all time. I mean, just look at that cover. I live in South Korea and I saw some random middle-aged woman wearing a t-shirt with that design, and I seriously had to resist the urge to hold her at gunpoint and demand that she names 3 songs. But really, it's just crazy how ahead of its time this album was. Dang it, okay, like, the script is getting, like, cheesy and cliche. I need to finish this section quickly. Oh, I really like Money, I really like Us and Them, I like Brain Damage, I think Great Gig is slightly overrated, and I like David Gilmour. Done. Great album, 3rd most sold record of all time for a good reason. I shouldn't have to tell you to check it out. Moving on to a more interesting album. I know that people praise Is This It and Room on Fire as some of the best garage rock revival albums, but my pick for The Strokes will always be their 2020 release, The New Abnormal. Many view the record as like a return to form after their detour with Angles and Come Down Machine, but to me this album is more than that. It's peak Strokes, fuck you, fight me. This album is one of the plenty of testaments to Rick Rubin's prowess as a producer, because it just sounds so clean and simple, as if the band members really feel comfortable in their shoes once again. The Adults Are Talking is one of my favorite album intros, especially the part where Julian Casablancas hits them fucking falsettos, man. Like 20 years after Is This It, his vocal performances are still absolutely immaculate on this thing. Selfless is amazing, Eternal Summer is amazing, Why Are Sunday So Depressing is amazing, and don't get me started on Ode to the Mets. That song broke me when I first heard it. Such an emotionally powerful ballad with such simple linear progressions. It's in my opinion the Strokes' most beautiful song ever. Absolutely love this album, and I'm okay with it being the final Strokes project. I think it's a good send-off. When I want to forget about my earthly woes and sorrows, like when I just feel like going fuck it, we ball, this album is a go-to of mine. Most people probably know Favorite Worst Nightmare from its closer 505, but in my opinion the record's second half is ever so slightly weaker than its first half, which is, it's not even really a fair criticism because the first half has the craziest 5-track run in the band's entire discography. Starting with Brainstorm, to Teddy Picker, to D is for Dangerous, to Balaclava, to fucking Fluorescent Adolescent. Like, all of those songs are like perfect 10 out of 10s. You don't see runs like that every day, and I also really like how, unlike some of their future works, you can really feel each band member's presence on Favorite Worst Nightmare. The new bassist they got, Nick O'Malley, has some of the most infectious bass lines in the entirety of 2000s post-punk revival scene. I love Matt Helder's crazy drummings, especially on like Brainstorm. And I love the chemistry between the aforementioned two and Jamie Cook's guitar riffs. And of course, Alex Turner is the sexiest, I mean, the most captivating frontman among his contemporaries, easily. And sexiest. What was I talking about? If live albums aren't allowed in lists like these, I'd put Remain in Light or Speaking in Tongues at number 2, but I make the rules, fuck you. Stop Making Sense is the greatest concert film of all time, let alone the best Talking Heads album, or the greatest live album for that matter. This album actually almost ruined my experience of discovering Talking Heads, because every time I hear studio versions of the songs on this album, it's slightly worse every time. And I just keep getting disappointed. But that doesn't mean Talking Heads suck, it's just a testament to how fantastic this live performance really was. I love how well choreographed the whole set was, but speaking strictly based on the music, I feel like the lack of visual doesn't really take anything away from the beauty of this thing. It's like a greatest hits album, except the songs from across their entire catalog somehow transition seemingly into the next. And all the songs are better than the original versions, maybe except Once in a Lifetime, but like, still. David Byrne is my spirit animal, not gonna elaborate much on that. He's easily my favorite performer ever. Such a funny little man in a funny big suit. Highlights include Psycho Killer, Girlfriend is Better, Life During Wartime, Cross-Eyed and Painless, and every other fucking song. They're all good. What can I say? Please check them out, and the concert film too, because I think A24 recently remastered it. So it's like high quality and stuff. Definitely check it out. If not for the one entry per artist rule, I would have included both OK Computer and In Rainbows on the list, but when all is said and done, I feel like there isn't an album I enjoy more than Kid A, full stop. I don't want to talk about it too much here because I'm working on a full documentary / review video and everything, but to keep everything simple, this album changed the way I perceive music as a whole. It's both beautiful and ugly, it's both relaxing and haunting, just about challenges the very limit of what a single album can achieve. Everything in its right place is possibly the most beautiful album opener of all time, The national anthem is just a fucking banger. How to Disappear Completely is such an emotionally devastating song, and Idiot Tech has this IDM influence. It just sounds really cold and crunchy. And Motion Picture soundtrack has this harp arpeggios that just sound absolutely heavenly. And okay, dude, stop fucking glazing. We get it. You get no bitches. Thank you so much for watching. If you want to, you can like subscribe, like all the good stuff. Oh, and comment. I really love reading comments. And I will be seeing you in an undetermined amount of time. Farewell.